Okay, for those of you who are still feeling uncomfortable with your factoring, we're going to do more factoring today, but we're going to add in finding a GCF. So sometimes there's a common factor that you can pull out before you factor. And once you pull it out, it'll make it way easier to do the factoring. So for example, in number 1, 8 is a common factor. So if I pull out my 8 before I start, then I just have x squared minus 4x plus 2, which is way easier than 8x squared minus 24. First of all, did I do that right? Nope. Minus 3. Let's just fix that. Okay, minus 3x. 8, 3, 2. Okay, so we haven't done this yet, which is kind of, well, yeah, we have. Okay, so my sum is -3. My product is 2. So basically, my factors are going to be -2 times -1. So I'm going to make my box. I'm going to put my x squared up here, my 2 down here. Then I'm going to put in -2x and -1x. It doesn't matter where I put them because it'll come out the same either way. My common factor for the top is x. My common factor on the bottom, remember the negative's the first thing, so it's -2. My greatest common factor for the top is x. And my greatest common factor on the right side is -1, because the negatives in this box, it translates up. The negatives in the first box, it translates over. So what I have is, don't forget to write the 8, x minus 1 times x minus 2. So this is completely factored, and taking out the greatest common factor before you start just makes it really easy. So number 2, let's take out 16 times 4 is 64. So I can take out my 16 and I end up with x squared minus 4. My sum is 0. My product is -4. So if my product is -4, I end up with -2 and +2. So when I make my box, man, I wish I had more room. I have x squared minus 2x plus 2x and -4. My greatest common factor for the top is x. My greatest common factor on the bottom is -2. My greatest common factor on the left is x. My greatest common factor on the right is 2. So I have 16 times x minus 2 times x plus 2. That's completely factored and way easier when you take out the common factor. Okay, so the steps for factoring, which every time I do this, I think it's silly. Okay, first of all, you ask yourself, is there a GCF? If so, factor out GCF. Then you ask yourself, am I finished? And when the answer is no, use your box to factor. Okay. Number 3. And all these are going to have a greatest common factor because that's the whole point of the lesson. So before you even start, look for the greatest common factor. This one's going to be 3y, which leaves me with x squared plus 13x x plus 20, 20, the end. Okay, my sum is 13. My product is 20. Factors of 20 are 20 and 1, 10 and 2, 5 and 4, and that's it. So what did I do wrong? Because none of those add up to 13. Three goes into 39 13 times. 3 goes into 60 20 times. I guess I'm done. I guess that means I'm done. If none of these work, then I guess my answer is because I can't factor that because there's no sum and product that there's no magic numbers. There's no magic numbers for that one. So that would be my answer, which would be number 3 in our steps. We're done. All right, number 4, I'm going to take out a negative 3p. And I'm taking out a negative because there's a negative there. What that means is I have to switch all my signs. So I'm going to end up with p squared minus 5p plus 4. My sum is negative 5. My product is 4. If I have 4, I either have 2 times 2 or 4 times 1 or negative 4 times negative 1. There's my magic number. So I'm going to make a box somewhere. There's just not much room, is there? I put my p squared in the top left. I put my 4 in the bottom right. I have my magic numbers that it doesn't matter where I put them. I find my greatest common factor for the top. It's p. My greatest common factor for the bottom. Take the negative sign with it. My greatest common factor for the left side is p. And my greatest common factor for the right side is negative 1 because I took that negative sign. So my answer is negative 3p times p minus 4 times p minus 1. Wow, how easy is that? Hopefully you're seeing steps and what happens. Okay, so we just did a negative factoring, so I don't know why we're even doing this again. But okay, so our negative 6x is what comes out. What happens is it changes all the signs. So we end up with x minus 3. And again, we're done. So I guess what happens is all the signs change. And here we are again with that whole signs changing thing. Don't just do one because that'll mess it all up like I just did. X plus 3. So my answer is negative 6x times x plus 3. Do you notice I slipped that in real quick because I put a negative sign? So yeah, I don't understand why you'll do that. Because I just did it. Okay, so let's look at what's going on up here. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take out a 25. So I really have 25x squared plus 4x plus 4. All right, my sum is 4. My product is 4. So it's going to be 2 and 2 are my magic numbers. X squared, 4 goes here, plus 2x, plus 2x. My greatest common factor on the top is x. My greatest common factor on the bottom is 2. My greatest common factor on the left is x. My greatest common factor on the right is 2. Probably should have seen that pattern somewhere. So I end up with 25 times x plus 2 times x plus 2. So the first thing I know is it's a square, because here's my length and my width, and they're the same. And I think what that means is it's just 25 times bigger. So once I figured out, say I knew x was 3, x plus 2 is 5, but really the length of the field isn't 5, it's really 25 times 5. So whatever number I got for x plus 2, it's going to be 20 times 25 to get to the real dimensions of the field, if that makes sense. All right, number 7. I have a painting with this area. I'm going to take out a 2. So I have x squared plus 4x plus 3. If the length is 2x plus 2, then that's one of my magic numbers. So my sum is 4, which can't be right. So this will be interesting. Okay, my product is 3. Oh no, I guess that works. Okay, so if I have 3, my magic number is going to be 3 and 1. So when I make my box, x squared goes in the top left, 3 goes in the bottom right. I'm going to have 3x in one and 1x in the other. My greatest common factor for my top half is x. Greatest common factor on the bottom is 1. Greatest common factor on the left is x. Greatest common factor on the right is 3. So my I get it. Okay. So my answer is 2 times x plus 3 times x plus 1. So 2x plus 2 is really this, because there's that, gets multiplied in that. So my other length is x plus 3. And I was trying to figure out if I distribute that 2, but I don't. Once I distribute it to one of them, I multiply that times this, and that's going to get me back to where I started. So this is the width of the painting. Because when I'm multiplying 3 things together, I can multiply any 2 things together, and then I multiply that times the one that's left over. And I don't multiply the 2 times that one also, because then I would have 4x squared, and that would be too much. So I hope if you were feeling uncomfortable about factoring, that doing a little more practice helped. And we'll do some more tomorrow.